Pastor Joel, in
Yes.
our last episode, we talked a lot about grace. Would you like to elaborate a little bit about how grace impacts our relationships?
Well, grace is grace allows for relationships to grow. It allows for them to blossom because grace is to a relationship what oil is to an engine. Okay, I used to work in a transmission plant, and transmissions are highly technical pieces of equipment, and so the tolerances with which we were making were real tight. In other
Right.
words, this thing was made to work. It was fitted together. It was made, the parts were made for their place, right? But without oil, it'd burn up in a few minutes.
Right.
Okay, and so sometimes when people have friction, they think it's because maybe I'm with the wrong person or we're not a fit. But just human engagement will produce friction. Okay, and so what you need in human engagement is grace. We need to be gracious to one another. Okay, so grace allows us to function. It takes away, it makes the friction less important. Okay, because you're gonna have the friction. It's a natural part of engagement.
Right.
And so grace is a big deal in relationships, that we were gracious. We tend to be more gracious to people that we like. I think one of the things, let's say in prejudice or in racism, is that people that you're not fond of, you give them less grace. And so you judge their behaviors with more of a critical eye, whereas someone else doing the same thing, you would look at it very graciously.
Right.
And so God calls us to be gracious. We are called to be great. God is gracious. Okay, and so so when you're gracious, you are being godly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So does grace mean unconditional love when it comes to relationships?
I believe God loves us unconditionally. Okay, and I believe because of that, He never changes His attitude towards us. Okay, but there are in a functioning relationship, I don't think anything can be unconditional. Okay, because I'm going to run out of energy. I'm going to run out of whatever the feelings I have for you if they keep being violated. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city.
Wow.
Okay, and so we are commanded to forgive. Okay, but we are not commanded to reconcile with everybody. Okay, and I don't believe I was meant to be with everybody. I don't believe I was meant to function with everybody. Okay, but what grace does is give me a means by which I view their behavior.
Right.
Okay, and so so when I'm looking at your behavior, let's say you do something that offends me. Okay, well, where judgment comes in is when I begin to apply motives and intention to what you did. Okay, so you come in and trip over something of mine and break it. Okay, well, that was a mistake. I didn't like it. It didn't help me. It hurt me. Okay, that you broke something of mine. But when I apply intention to it, you meant to do that. You were trying to break that. Okay,
Right.
when I apply motive and intention to it, now I'm judging you.
Right.
Okay, and so that makes relationships tough when we begin to apply and reckon motive and intent to what people do. So grace in relationships, obviously the grace of God is the presence of God. Okay, Him being with me. But grace in relationships is my attitude towards your behavior, what you do.
Right.
Okay. There was a couple of studies done, and I came across these studies at the same time. One was by a gentleman named John Gottman, who wrote a book on marriage, The 7 Principles of Marriage, happy marriage. And his study was done at the same time. They did a study at the Syracuse University in New York on happy marriages. They studied happy marriages, and they came up with the same conclusion, that is basically voiced a different way.
Right.
At SUNY, they said that happy marriages, the people find the best explanation for their mate's behavior possible and believe it. Okay, and so how do
Wait,
they
can you
respond
say that
to?
one more time?
Yeah, and a happy marriage is, because we in our society we study dysfunction to try to help us know how to function.
Right.
So very rarely do we study health to know how to be healthy. We study sickness and symptoms and things. And so they actually studied happy marriages, and what they found consistently, the consistent thread in happy marriages was they would find the best possible explanation for their mate's behavior, and they would believe it.
Wow.
Okay, it didn't make bad behavior good behavior. They weren't in any kind of illusion. They just explained it the best way they possibly could,
Right.
as far as motive and intention was concerned.
Right.
In the Gottman study, what they found consistent in happy marriages was a positive overriding sentiment about their mate's behavior. Okay, and so how do I respond to things that happen in the marriage that that may be disappointing or irritating to me? How do I respond to that? What do I read into my mate's behavior?
Right.
Okay, and so when I'm being gracious, I give people the best possible explanation for their behavior possible. Okay, when I'm judging people, I will apply and attribute motives and intention to their behavior that may cause a relationship to be bad, may cause overriding bad feeling about the person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. How can we practice forgiveness in our daily relationships?
Well, we're commanded to forgive. And so